Hello there. What is going on, everyone? Today, we are going to be looking at the Consular-Class cruiser, aka the Charger C-70 for Star Wars Armada, the Republic faction of the Clone Wars. This is the last ship that I have to do for all of the Clone Wars ships that are out there. And don't worry, I will be doing the Rebellion and the Empire. Don't worry, those are going to happen. But if you guys are new here to the channel, we are still giving away a lightsaber. So all you have to do is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. It's as simple as that. And that's actually going to be running all throughout next month as well. So there's plenty of time left to enter to win the big lightsaber giveaway. We did one over Christmas, and that was a big hit. And so I figured let's do it again. Also, check out our Discord. I would love to have you join our Discord, ask questions. There's giveaways going on in Discord right now. There's one going on right now. We have a painting contest. The theme is red, in like a Valentine's kind of theme. So if you got anything red that's painted, or it's got some pink or red or shades of pink and red on it, doesn't even have to be Armada. It can be any game. It can be Legion, X-Wing, 40K, Age of Sigmar, Infinity, Monopoly. Don't do your regular Monopoly houses, though. Those are already red. That's cheating. That's cheating, and it's not allowed, and it's frowned upon. Anyway, well, let's go ahead and dive in to this breakdown. So if you guys are playing the Republic, you're probably familiar with this cheap and small ship. This is also the very first Republic ship we ever saw. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan were on this ship when they boarded. It's for the negotiations that allegedly never took place. And of course, that was kind of the Consular-Class armed version in the Senate colors. And of course, we have the more up-armored version, the C-70. I'll talk about the differences for between those in a little bit, but basically it's a Speed 4 ship, very, very fast ship. It kind of serves a lot of the roles that your stereotypical small ships tend to do. In other words, they're fragile, they're fast, and they're lightly shielded. They can be one-shot, but at the same time, they're really good at moving around the battlefield, trying to flank opponents and pick up objectives. And that's really what this ship wants to do. It wants to move around very quickly. It wants to flank opponents, get out of firing arcs, run away from the battle, or negotiate itself directly into a great firing position, or ignore firing altogether and really focus on picking up objectives. And then this one also actually has some pretty decent anti-squadron capabilities as well. This is a ship that has only 4 hull. So it's not going to last too long. It is a 1-command ship, so it can completely change things up on the fly. It has only 2 engineering and only 1 squadron, so kind of like what you would expect from a cheaper small ship. It's not going to offer the most kind of squadron or repairing support that it has there, because those values are just about as low as they come. You also have a single evade, a redirect, and a contain for its defense tokens. Contain being a little bit of a weird one there. I'm like, well, you're not going to be taking that many damage anyway, but I guess it's something. It's meant to basically be, I think, worse than a CR90, and at least its defense tokens kind of do put it there. Now, it still has the 1 evade at least, so that's very, very nice, since evade has been improved greatly over the original rule set for Armada. It is a Speed 4 ship as well. Speed 4 being, 3 clicks at just about every speed except for 1. So you got 3 clicks at Speed 2, 3 clicks at Speed 3, and 3 clicks at Speed 4. Very maneuverable, very, very fast, if it's a fast ship. You've never heard of the Consular-Class Charger C-70? It's the ship that made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs. No, it's a very fast ship, and it also has the ability to go even faster. And we'll talk about that when we look at some of the build options as well that are coming up for it. Now, as far as the ship's profile itself, while being a small base ship, it also has a pretty standard arc setup in that it's got a very close to a straight up normal X that's just placed slightly back on the platform, giving it a slightly larger front arc because of the X being so far back. You have a little bit better shots out of your front arc, and that, generally your front arc has the most dice. But its side arcs are still moderately wide, giving this guy, some potential for double arc play. But when you only have the single side arc shots, it's going to work pretty well in some configurations. He's pretty much always going to have a shot. Now, first off, we'll look at the armed cruiser, the Consular-Class armed cruiser. They call this one an armed cruiser because the very first Consular was supposed to be weaponless. And so this represents one of those same versions of the ship that has been retrofitted with some weapons. And that's why it kind of has the weaker weapon set with just the blue and the black dice. The armed cruiser comes in at only 37 points, making this the cheapest ship in all of the Clone Wars, and one of the cheapest ships in the game. I think it's actually, one of the definitely one of the cheapest ships in the game, but also one of the maybe least combat effective ships in the game, in that it has also no red dice, and so it's harder to get shots on a ship like this that you have to get close to an enemy with, because at the same time you're getting close, you're probably taking red dice shots the whole time, and this is a ship that is definitely at high risk of being blown up. And so it's actually able to perform a number of different options, and its cheap point costs kind of allow you to maybe take that risk. Now, if we look at some of the things that make this particular version stand out, we'll start from the top. It's double blue for anti-squadron. That is actually sensational, especially at the 37 point cost. I think that is one of the ways that this ship initially flew under the radar for me, and when I came back to take another look at it, I realized this is a tremendously devastating ship against squadrons for its point cost. You can easily fit like 3 or 4 of these in a list, and if you were to decidedly take these guys against other squadrons, you could really wreak havoc, especially considering some of the upgrades that it has. You could potentially even add more than 2 dice to a squadron attack if you had something like external racks or something crazy with a concentrate fire, or however you wanted to do it. Now we do have 2 blue and a black out of its front arc, with a black and a blue on each side, and only 1 blue in the rear. So this one, if it can get up close and personal to you and manage to get a double arc at close range, it can roll a decent amount of dice, which 2 blue and a black, maybe you have a concentrate fire that makes 4 dice out of the front and then 2 more out of the side, or vice versa. A really nice little combination if you can manage to allow it to survive. For upgrades, here we have Officer, of course. We have the support team, which is a very nice option for any fast ship, because you can always consider taking something like engine techs, which will allow you to go even more than speed 4, which is definitely something that a ship like this wants to be able to do. You want to kind of get in and get out. So I think engine techs makes for a fantastic option here. We have the defensive retrofit, which is a little bit peculiar on such a small ship. A lot of these smaller ships do have a defensive retrofit, and one of the ideas for a defensive retrofit is that if you wanted this guy to get in close and survive long enough, but you were afraid that they might die before they got there, you might consider some kind of defensive retrofit. Or if you were going to take some damage and you were like, hey, you know what, I don't think I'll get one-shotted, so I'm going to take something like reinforced blast doors to let me heal up a little bit. That's possibly an option. Our only real offensive option on this particular ship is the ordnance upgrade, which gives you some black dice shenanigans. Now, again, even though this ship has more blue dice than black dice, and you might have said, hey, well, how come we don't have an ion cannon? Well, as of me recording this video, none of the Republic ships have an ion cannon slot, and it's just a slot that is off limits to them currently. I say currently because I'm sure we'll get one in the future at some point, but right now it's turbo lasers and ordnances, the only type of dice-based upgrade types that we have. So if you can survive long enough to get close, this one can deliver some additional firepower with those black dice by using of that ordnance upgrade slot. But you got a few options on here, not a whole lot, but maybe enough to help you get up close and personal. For only 37 points, it's probably worth the gamble. Now, if we want to spend a little bit more, we can upgrade to the Consular-Class Charger C-70. This is kind of the second iteration, the version of this ship that was built more for warfare and the kind that is more likely to actually dish out some punishment, because it can do it from a more effective range. Now, this one goes up to 45 points, so you're going to pay a little bit more for a Charger C-70, but you're going to be able to get I think you're going to get a lot more consistency out of this version. We do go down in our amount of squadron dice from 2 blue just to 1 black, but at least with the 1 black you have a little bit more consistency, so you do have a better chance of at least rolling 1 hit. Our command values stay the same between both versions. Our dice go up significantly here. Our dice go up to red dice. We have 2 red and a blue in the front, or 2 red on each side, and a red and a blue in the rear. Yes, that's an additional die added to the rear. So whenever you get like a net bonus of additional dice, that's always a good thing. Although I guess you kind of subtracted it from the anti-squadron battery, but still have an extra dice in the rear is good, especially because it applies to this photo here on the card of here's a ship that's getting chased, and since it happens to have an upgraded rear battery armament, it has able to shoot back fairly well. Now, unfortunately, this ship does not have salvo, so it's limited how much use it's actually going to get out of that rear battery armament, especially when you're a very fast and mobile ship. Generally, people should not be shooting at your rear, unless, of course, it is like turn 6 and you're running away to try to not give your opponent more points. For upgrades on this version, we still have the officer, and we also have the support team still, but we have 2 different upgrades. Instead of the defensive retrofit, we have the offensive retrofit, which can do a variety of things, from extending your blue dice range to potentially helping your squadron support, which I think might be a little not that likely, but who knows, maybe. I mean, it's certainly possible. But additionally, we've also got the turbo laser upgrade, which is an important one because turbo laser upgrade combined with lots of red dice equals a lot more opportunities to be able to make use of whatever turbo laser upgrade you put in there, whether it's turbo laser reroute circuits or linked turbo laser towers or anything involving red dice. You're going to be able to generally roll that a lot more, and generally from safety. I tend to prefer this version, especially for combat reasons, because you're able to employ your red dice on people, and for defensive reasons as well, because you're actually able to stay at long range where people will have less dice to throw back at you, and that evade that you have is way more effective at long range than it is at close and or medium range. So I generally tend to prefer the Charger C70 version. And we have 2 titles available for the Consular. It's the Radiant 7, which is a very popular title. I find it more often used on the armed cruiser, the Consular-Class armed cruiser, the cheaper version, because it's turning it into a dedicated support ship. The Radiant 7 says that you're going to gain that fleet support option, and but you cannot equip your turbo laser or ordnance upgrades. And it's only a 1-point title, but of course it's going to end up costing more than that because you're also going to put something for fleet support. Now, this ship came out before the Pelta did, but this does make for the cheapest way to get a dedicated support platform. So if you want the cheapest bomber command center you can find, it's going to be by using a Consular-Class armed cruiser along with Radiant 7. You can also potentially put it on a C70 if you wanted a more expensive support that can more consistently throw firepower out. So you have the option there. But I think if you're going for points, you might want to go for the cheaper ship points as well. Otherwise, why not use something else? The Swift Return is a little bit more expensive title, but still relatively cheap at only 3 points. Swift Return is going to help in your maneuverability, so this can work very well on either version of the ship. It says, during your determined course step, if you are at distance 1 to 2 of an obstacle, you may change your speed by 1 or increase 1 yaw value by 1. So you kind of, I kind of think of this dude sort of as, sometimes I play this game Sea of Thieves, and you have like this chain shot on the front of your ship that you can hook into things and kind of do that tighter turn, kind of like Batman on the Batmobile, kind of throwing the little lasso around the fire hydrant and doing the sharp little 90-degree turn. And so if you're close to an asteroid, it kind of uses the gravitational pull to maybe give you an extra yaw, or just change your speed if and it's nice to be able to have shenanigans to change your speed on a 1-command ship, because there may be those times where like now I want to concentrate fire and actually get a bigger shot, but I don't want to have to nav every single turn, and this is something that's going to allow you to do that. So now I want to talk about a couple of build ideas. I'm going to give you 4 quick builds for CR90s, for C70s, and other Consular armed cruisers. And I'll start off with just kind of a simple armed cruiser that's just kind of going for bear. Maybe we're going to load up a lot of these. If you wanted to do a lot of small ships. They sometimes call this MSU, multiple small units. Fire off, like, maybe you have like 5 or 6 ships or 7 ships, but you want to have like 4 or 5 small ones, maybe one kind of, or maybe just all small ships. You might want to consider running a couple of Consular armed cruisers with external racks. They're probably only going to get one shot anyway. And so this kind of makes the most of them. But I also put Clone Captain Zach on here to kind of give your side arc a little bit of extra firepower in case you do get close enough to be able to fire that double arc on somebody. You've also got external racks. You can add up a lot of extra dice from a ship that might not seem like much of a threat until it's at close range, throwing black dice on you, getting Clone Captain Zach's bonus, and getting external racks also at the same time. That can be a very, very fun type of surprise to throw on an opponent if you're able to get it in there. Plus, if you are running lots of small ships, you might be able to hold off this guy until the end. Even if you're first player, you might be able to kind of do a last in, first out sort of thing where this ship manages to squeeze in there once it's too late for your opponent to react to it, and maybe you act with this one again next turn and go first, and then maybe you get to use Clone Captain Zach. Maybe he survives to fire another day. Maybe. For a Consular-Class C70, a Charger C70, I do like, I talked about linked turbolaser towers earlier. I think it's a great option for a ship like this. It also does give you some anti-squadron, shenanigans, and this kind of lets you stay a little bit versatile. You can do some anti-squadron shots and take advantage of the linked turbolaser's extra dice battery, but you also have reserve hangar decks, which allows you to save a squadron, and so I think that's just a nice little way to kind of squeeze extra points out of this, or at least get some of your value added back from a Consular. I think you don't really, like, personally for me, I don't really want to put too many squadron upgrades that are gonna boost my ability to activate squadrons. I might want to just consider letting my actual carriers do that, and let any Consulars that I have just be the guys to pick up an extra squadron, because on this ship, reserve hangar deck is just as effective as it is on on a Venator. So yeah, it's real nice to be able to have a squadron come back from the dead if you can get close enough. Now, moving on to the title-specific builds, here's a Radiant 7 build, and now this is a build that is going to have what's going to try to be a survivable Bomber Command Center. A Bomber Command Center is an important option for, I think, Republic. You've got Y-Wings, and you've got Arc 170s, and you've got Anakin Skywalker out there. You've got a lot of bombers. You want to be able to put a lot of damage out there with your squadrons. And so you want to get those rerolls with the squadron. So Bomber Command Center is going to help you do that. And I want this guy to stay alive. And so if you wanted him to stay alive, maybe you would go with something like Reinforced Blast Doors for the defensive retrofit. If you end up taking some damage, you could just take one turn, and you survive the turn. You can just say, you know what, this turn I'm taking all that damage off, and then I'm going to start again. We also start with the Auxiliary Shields team, in case for the first round or two, if you wanted to do some engineering commands, you could boost up your left and right shields, and do that for a turn or two, depending on how much extra support you get. But I think Auxiliary Shields team on a Bomber Command Center is a possibility. You're going to probably be staying kind of close. You might not need engine techs, on a Bomber Command Center if he's kind of trying to keep his distance. But I put Barriss on here also as some pretty cool defensive options in case you find yourself kind of like a battle's up here and you're flying sideways, and somebody gets a shot on you. You're like, you know what? On second thought, you're shooting my other side. And especially with Auxiliary Shields team, if I've buffed up both of my sides, I can just be like, oh, you're trying to weaken down this 3 shield that's facing you? No, you're actually going towards the other 3 shield that's on the exact other side. And so I think that could be a real fun one. Or it's also potential defense, or at least partial defense against XI7s for when you do start losing shields. You can say, no, you're going to attack the side with all the shields. So that's a fun one as well. And that's a way to kind of help keep a Bomber Command Center alive for an extra turn or two if you get lucky. And then for a good Consular-Class Charger C70 build with swift return, I wanted to make a hyper-mobile ship that can do some extra damage and maybe have some reliable damage. So there's a lot of different things going on with this particular build here. So we have swift return. We don't have to nav every turn, but we are going to nav at least a couple of turns and maybe take a token because we got engine techs in there. So the idea is here, I want to get in the right spot. I want to get there quickly, and I want to have that extra maneuverability. So engine techs is going to allow us to go faster than 5. I'm sorry, faster than 4 if we can. But when we are ready to shoot, then we can just dial up that concentrate fire. We can pop disposable capacitors. From safety, we're still at long range. Throw 3 dice out the front, 2 red and 1 blue. You can throw that at long range. We've got turbo laser reroute circuits because we've got, hey, a red die is going to be perfect. We got a concentrate fire lined up. Maybe a side arc shot also. Very cool stuff. And then let's say we're already at speed 5 and we're getting too close. Or we don't want to get too close, then we've got Clone Captain Silver. When you do your concentrate fire to slow you all the way down, like, whoa, let's hit the brakes here, buddy. Let's hit the brakes. And then, you thought I was at speed 4, I was coming right in. All of a sudden, no, I'm gonna just slow down to speed 1. I'm not gonna get into your close range. And so then, and then hopefully maybe they move after you. Then you're at medium range. You don't have to pop disposable capacitors anymore, and you can start using turbo laser reroute circuits every turn, and then hopefully survive that way. Then dial up a nav the next turn, and then use engine techs to kind of get away. Maybe take a turn in between. So it could be fun, or just pop another concentrate fire and then use Clone Captain Silver to boost you back up to 4 and then get the heck out of Dodge. And that's some fun things. And you get a free yaw also with Swift Return. Again, you don't have to nav. But when you want to nav, you've got engine techs. When you don't want to nav, you've got Swift Return and Clone Captain Silver to help you out. Now, you don't have to run all of this on one of these. You can certainly swap out engine techs if you didn't maybe want to ever nav at all. But I think there's going to be plenty of times when you don't have a shot that you do want to nav, and so that's why I put engine techs on there. But you certainly have plenty of other options, and that's kind of my breakdown. Now, I think these are great ships to kind of add 1 or 2 into a fleet. I generally don't recommend currently running a whole lot of Consulars in a Republic build, mostly because of their commander options. They don't have any real offensive commanders right now that are going to really benefit a whole lot of firing ships. And until such time that we get new commanders for the Clone Wars, I think the Consular is probably going to be like a 1 or 2 at most for a build. And so that's kind of where I'm at on how I view the ship and where its place in the game. It's usually a support ship or a flanker, and it usually works well in support of a fleet has Venators or things like that, larger ships. And so I don't think they're too good on their own, and I don't think they fly in a swarm all that well, although they potentially could, but they would do a lot better of that once there's like an Anakin Skywalker who I would guess will end up being some kind of offensive commander or something like that. And then maybe you might want to think about an MSU type swarm with Consulars. Until that time comes, I'll be happy to talk with you more about ideas, and when that day finally comes that we get more stuff, I'll be happy to revise this and other breakdowns as well. All right, guys, that is going to do it for today. I want to thank you all so much for hanging out with me on this day. It's been great talking with you guys about Armada. Stay tuned for more breakdowns. Check out the other ones. They're going to show up over here in just a moment of all the other ships from the Clone Wars. Again, I am going to be doing Empire and Rebels. And stay tuned for more Armada content, X-Wing content, Legion content. Check the links in the description below. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are amazing and help make this all possible. We are still doing extra giveaways on Patreon as well, including some of the non-claimed things from the 12 Days of Life Day giveaway. We'll talk to you guys so much, and thank you for making sure you take off your shoes before you sit down to watch.